I want to talk about the last episode of 90 Day Fiancé Happily Ever After with Gino, Jasmine, and Matt. So it starts off with Matt and Jasmine. They go out to get their nails done, and while they're sitting there getting their nails done, Matt starts going on to Jasmine and saying, like, I don't understand why you're still talking to Gino, because Jasmine said that she thinks that she needs to meet up with Gino one more time to get closure or try to see if they can work things out. But Matt was like, okay, the last time wasn't enough for you when he left you in that park stranded with all your stuff and had you crying and had you running to me. Like, I don't want to be here to pick up the pieces every single time. And he pretty much has expressed his frustration with the fact that he's done so much for Jasmine, but she's still entertaining Gino. And he's trying to act like he hasn't told Jasmine his true feelings. And he's like, maybe she knew how I really felt and she'd be done with Gino. I'm not buying this. I feel like I'm watching a bad soap opera, because I'm not buying that he hasn't told Jasmine how he really feels about her, because I don't think Jasmine would be as invested in lovey-dovey over Matt if she was uncertain and had no idea how he really felt. This whole storyline between Jasmine, Matt, and Gino just feels like a whole bunch of bad acting at this point. And he was going on saying, look, I've done so much for you, and Gino hasn't done shit. And I mean, I wouldn't fully discount what Gino has done for Jasmine, because he's done a lot more for Jasmine at this point. Like, recently he's done a lot, like in real time. Like, she's been showing off on Instagram. He just bought her this nice fancy car as a push present for her child, and all kinds of other things. But Gino did a lot too. I mean, he paid for a lot of her plastic surgery she had done, pretty much redid her whole body, sent her $10,000 that she ended up spending on an upside down BBL instead of a wedding dress like she promised him. He paid for her to live in this nice luxury apartment while she was in Panama, and was paying for all her stuff when she got to the United States. But Matt just said he's tired of being on the sidelines. He wants Jasmine to close the story with Gino and make a decision on what she wants. And Jasmine was like, I just need to see him one last time. And then we see Gino, and he went to go meet up with his cousin Dana and his wife Michelle. He goes over to their house and sits down with them. And Michelle is asking Gino, where does him and Jasmine stand? And he pretty much explains that he told her that he wanted a divorce. And Michelle and Dana were like, no, no, no. You do not need to be talking about divorce. And Michelle was like, you know, I've hung out with Jasmine and Matt several times, and Gino had no idea about this. And she's like, yeah, so every time I hang out with Jasmine, she's constantly talking about how much she misses you and loves you. And I just don't see her doing all that if she really wanted to be with Matt. And I just feel like this is so disingenuous. One, because Jasmine is probably on her best behavior when she's around Dana and Michelle and she's showing them what they want to see. And two, I'm not buying that she hasn't been lovey-dovey with Matt in front of Michelle and Dana, and that they're conveniently probably leaving that part out to Gino to try to get Gino to think that there's still some hope in this marriage. And I think that they're only thinking about themselves at the end of the day instead of thinking about what's best for Gino. They just want Jasmine and Gino to be back together so they can all hang out, have a good time together, but they don't care about how this is affecting Gino at the end of the day. Like, I get Michelle's advice where she said, you know, I just feel like if you're in a marriage, you should try everything you can to make it work before you give up, so you can say, at least I tried everything in my power. But at the same time, what's the purpose to continuously keep beating a dead horse when you know it's never going to come back alive? Like, there's no hope in this marriage, and it's so obvious to everyone. And meeting up, I think, is just going to do it, just cause more drama at the end of the day. But honestly, I think Gino does need this to realize that things are never going to change between him and Jasmine. So after this conversation with Dana and Michelle, Gina was like, you know what, they're right. Let me go see and if I can go save this marriage with Jasmine. So he went up and met up with Jasmine at this restaurant, and Jasmine got there before him, and she ordered a Diet Coke to be in a wine glass, but the waiter must have misunderstood her and gave her a glass of wine along with a Diet Coke. And some people were like, oh, she's already pregnant, that's why she asked for Diet Coke in a wine glass. But then she was chug-a-lugging that wine glass, so I don't think she was pregnant at this moment. I think she was just probably trying to cut back on calories, and she's so into trying to maintain her figure. But she sat down, she's drinking, she's all nervous, and then Gino walked in, and they're just sitting there looking at each other all awkwardly, and Jasmine finally broke the ice, and she's like, oh, that chair you're sitting in, it's taken. And Gino said, yeah, is Matt sitting here? And I was laughing so freaking hard. Even Jasmine couldn't help but crack a smile. And you could tell, like, things were going great at first. They were comfortable around each other, joking around with each other. Like, Jasmine's like, what are you eating now that I'm no longer cooking for you? And Gino's like, oh, my recycling bin is full of freaking, what's it called, the little, what's he eat, the box dinners, the TV dinners that he likes to eat. And they're giggling, having a great time. But then Gino quickly got reminded why this marriage is something that he's just not really a big fan of anymore, because they're sitting there and Gino was telling Jasmine like how hurt he was for what Jasmine did to him for talking to Matt. And Jasmine was like, well, do you still want a divorce? And he's like, well, I want to know, if you love me as much as you say you do, why you didn't move out of Matt's. Like, I could see you going to Matt's like when I kicked you out, maybe for like a few weeks or a month. But if you were really serious about me, I feel like you would have moved into your own place until you could have, until we could have worked things out. And Jasmine was like, no, I am not financially stable enough to do something like that. And I'm sorry, I'm not buying it. You make money off 90 Day Fiance, and I know it's not a lot of money, but you still get paid, and you're on multiple spinoffs. It's like she's done at least like 2 spinoffs a year, so she gets paid for each season she does. Then she makes thousands off Cameo. Like, I added it up, and I know, like, around Valentine's Day, she's making $2,000 to $5,000 a week from Cameo. And that was just from verified reviews that I was able to physically see and add up. That's not counting all the people who didn't leave reviews for their cameos. And it's likely she's probably making thousands off OnlyFans every single month. She's making money off TikTok. She goes live on TikTok all the time and gets all sorts of gifts. She makes money off Instagram, off Fashion Nova. Like, she's probably making more money than Gino is at this point. So I'm not buying she couldn't get her own place for financial reasons. I feel like she was living with Matt and still is staying with Matt because she wants to be there. And Gino was like, okay, I understand. Maybe you can't move out for financial reasons, but are you sleeping with Matt? And she said, of course, Gino. And I will give it to Jasmine. At least she can finally be honest about something. She at least admitted that they have been intimate. She said, look, you agreed to this with the open marriage, but that's not what Gino agreed to. He agreed to 2 times a week for 2 hours at a time. But then she moved in with Matt, and she's just been breaking all the rules. And then she asked Gino, she hurried up and flipped it back on him, and she said, well, what about you? And Gino said, well, I met this nice girl named Natalie, and I want to introduce her to my family. And I don't understand why he's rushing to introduce Natalie to his family. Like, I would not want to go on one date or one little mini vacation with this guy for a few days and then want to come back and meet his family. Like, does Natalie even want to meet his family yet? I feel like he's rushing it. Like, they're not even official boyfriend, girlfriend yet. Why drag her to meet your family when you don't even know if there's going to be a future for this relationship at this point? You're still debating going back to Jasmine. So Jasmine was like, okay, so she's your girlfriend. And Gino was like, no, she's not my girlfriend. She's like, I don't believe that. And Gino was like, no, we haven't even slept together. She's like, nope, I'm not buying that one bit. And, you know, I can see where she's thinking that, because if somebody's introducing someone to their family, you would think that they're probably already hooked up, they're probably together, and they're certain about this person. Because, I mean, I wouldn't want to just introduce anybody to my family, and then they break up with me a week later and have to drag them through all that. And Jasmine's like, yeah, I don't believe you. And Gina was like, well, we did kiss. We shared a nice, passionate kiss. And all of a sudden, Jasmine blew up. She got all mad. She's like, you're rubbing in my face. You're trying to make me jealous. And then she blew up and walked out. And Gina was like, okay, yeah, this is why we can't be together, because this shit is toxic as hell. But Jasmine, I don't think she really has any room to talk, because she's been hooking up with Matt every single day. But I think this encounter needed to go this way so they can hopefully finally close the door on this relationship. But just when I'm like, okay, they're finally going to close the door on all this bullshit, we see next episode that somehow Gino and Natalie are at a bar, and somehow Jasmine finds out they're there and shows up with Matt. And then I guess we're going to see Jasmine call Gino's girl a whore and get in her face and shove her. And, you know, it's just mighty rich coming from Jasmine, her calling Natalie a whore, when Jasmine made such a big deal about Rob calling her a whore at the tell-all and saying, oh, I'd never call anybody a whore, when she's called Gino's ex, Lindsay, and Gino's current interest, Natalie, a whore multiple times. But that is it for this video, guys. Let me know what you guys think about everything in the comments below. Give this video a thumbs up, subscribe, and thank you so much for watching.